Hello, everybody. It's that time again. It's time for the nugget for the week. Just a little word for you to chew on as we go throughout this week. A little something to lift you up even while we are battling the coronavirus. Today, our passage comes from Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. It's a very short verse. It says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." If I were to give this time a title, I would call it The Joy of Being Poor. You know, there's a thing when you are a speaker or an author where you do your best to start off your message with something that is so crazy that it makes everybody sit up and pay attention to you. I'm tempted to think that's what Jesus is doing in here, the first line of what represents one of the greatest sermons that Jesus would preach on earth. For who would have the audacity during this time to put blessed and poor in the same sentence? It didn't make any sense. He stood up and began to speak to his disciples in the midst of the multitude, saying the lowest class, the class that nobody ever thought of, the class that was refuge and thought of as nothing at all, he had the nerve to call them blessed. And when you look at it in the Amplified version of the Bible, blessed means this: spiritually prosperous, happy, and to be admired. Well, Jesus, what in the world would make you say that which is poor could be blessed? And not just poor. He goes on to say, poor in spirit. At the bottom of my well, Jesus says, blessed are ye. I don't know about you, but have you felt like being at the bottom of your well? Poor in spirit? That's where I know just how bad I am and how far away I am from anything close to being a child of the King. Have you ever been there? We've got good news from Jesus himself. He says, blessed. That's the part I don't understand. Why would he say blessed are the poor in spirit? I found the answer. The answer comes in the form of a GPS. You know, that thing that we can't do without. Whenever you're going anywhere, you just type in the address and boom, immediately coming to your phone or device are directions from where you sit to wherever it is you're trying to go. And changes with traffic. It's a beautiful thing. For a quick minute, allow me to show how old I really am. I remember the days before we knew that GP and S meant anything. Do you remember, what did we used to call them? Road maps? Ah, yes. That's the way. You had to pull that thing out and open it up, and it was folded in several places, and it was at least the same size as the front seat, the passenger as well as the driver's side. And you had to open that thing out. And on this big map, you were only looking for two places. One was where you were trying to go. And the other was where you are. I don't know about you, but what I recall is most of the time it was easier to find where I was trying to go on the map. The hard thing was finding where I was, especially on those days when I had left thinking that I knew the way and got lost and trying to find myself while I'm lost. I know where I want to be, but the hard part is finding where I am. For those of you who may be younger and don't drive, you run into the same problem going into a mall you've never seen. You know the store you want, and you can look and they'll tell you exactly where the store is. It's color-coded. You're looking for J.C. Penney's and it's right there, but right there doesn't mean anything until you know that other spot. It's usually a black dot to help you understand. It says, you are here. Once I have there and here, suddenly I have a way. That's why Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Because the poor in spirit is not a feeling. Oh no. Poor in spirit is a location. A lot of people know where they want to go. They want to get to that elusive place, the kingdom of heaven. So getting there, finding the there is easy. The reason why it's hard for many of us to find the here is that we're lost. That's not a bad thing. Because when it comes to the kingdom of heaven, knowing where I am is 3/4 of the way to getting to where I want to be. See, when it comes to the kingdom of heaven, it doesn't matter how far-fetched, it doesn't matter what rock I'm under. As soon, and it's not even about knowing, it's about me accepting that I am here. I'm poor in spirit. In Revelations, he says it of another group of people who are trying to get to the kingdom, but they're lost. And there's nothing more lost than folk who think they know the way. He said, you know not that you are wretched, poor, naked, and blind. So Jesus says, the reason why the poor in spirit are blessed is because they know they're here. You poor in spirit? I want to let you know you are richly blessed. Because knowing you're here means the GPS of heaven can now connect you, and no matter where you are, there is a way to get to the kingdom of heaven. In fact, when you accept what God says about your condition, you're as good as there. In that same short verse, he doesn't just call poor in spirit blessed. He says, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I've never been so glad to be poor. It brings me into joy. So the next time you wake up on the wrong side of the year, count yourself blessed. Because when I know where I am, the GPS of heaven can find me, and I'm as close to the kingdom as the mention of his name. That's all the time we have for today. Chew on this week. We'll see you next time. God bless.